At a quiet care home in the suburbs, 91-year-old Grace still washes her own dishes after dinner, reads history books without glasses, and walks her dog every morning before sunrise. Around her, most others her age are using walkers, relying on nurses, and spending most of their time sitting quietly. People assume Grace is just lucky, that she was born with better genes or blessed with good fortune. But if you ask her, she'll say something different. I just never stopped doing the little things that matter. What Grace does daily isn't magic. It's a set of simple, consistent habits that have kept her mind sharp, body strong, and heart full of purpose. And she's not alone. A small group of people, about 5 out of every 100 seniors, manage to keep doing things that most give up on after 70. They walk without help, think clearly, stay flexible, avoid pain, and live with joy and independence. These are not superhumans. They are everyday people who made small choices again and again. And the good news is, these habits can be learned no matter your age. Whether you're 68 or 88, you can begin to regain the energy, control, and confidence you once had. What you'll discover here are 7 powerful abilities that most seniors slowly lose, but a rare few still hold on to. You'll meet real people who defied expectations and stayed strong when others faded. Their stories will inspire you, and by the end, you might just realize the best years of your life aren't behind you if you're willing to reach for them. 1. Staying optimistic and living with purpose. When Daniel turned 70, life didn't feel the same anymore. After his wife passed, the house grew quieter and the days felt longer. For months, he sat in silence, unsure what to do with the time he once shared. But one morning, something shifted. He saw an old guitar in the corner and remembered the joy of teaching his grandson how to play. That small moment sparked something inside him. He began volunteering once a week at the community center, teaching music to local kids. He planted a small vegetable garden. He started writing short notes to his daughter every Sunday. Little by little, he built a new rhythm, not based on routine, but on meaning. Daniel is now 81, and though he walks a bit slower than before, his voice is lively and his eyes still light up when he talks about the children he teaches. Researchers have found that seniors who feel they have a purpose live, on average, 7 years longer than those who don't. They also experience lower rates of depression and cognitive decline. For Daniel, having a reason to wake up in the morning became more powerful than any medicine. He once said, "I don't live to count the days anymore. I live to make the days count." And science supports his experience. Purpose-driven living boosts your immune system, helps regulate your heartbeat, and even improves sleep. But this isn't just about joining clubs or keeping busy. It's about doing something, however small, that connects you to others and makes you feel useful. Whether it's reading to children at the library, fixing a neighbor's fence, or simply checking in on an old friend each week, living with purpose doesn't require energy you don't have. It just takes heart. And for many, it starts with one honest question. What makes me feel alive again? The answer might be closer than you think, waiting in a drawer, a hobby, or a person you've almost forgotten. Dela nội dung bạn yêu cầu được giữ nguyên 100% như bạn đã viết. 2. Keeping a sharp and active mind. At 76, Linda still remembers the phone numbers of her childhood friends, the birthdays of all 6 grandchildren, and the recipes her mother taught her decades ago. She's not a genius, and she doesn't take memory pills. What sets her apart is something much simpler. She trains her brain like a muscle. Every morning after breakfast, she reads a few pages from a history book, even if she doesn't understand everything at first. She plays crossword puzzles, writes in a journal, and watches nature documentaries with the subtitles on, just to keep her mind moving. She even started learning Japanese calligraphy online, not because she needs it, but because it makes her curious. While many of her friends have slowed down mentally, Linda stays sharp, witty, and engaged in conversation. The truth is, mental decline isn't always about age. In many cases, it's the result of routine. Doing the same things day after day without new challenges slowly puts the brain into sleep mode. But the mind is built to grow, even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Studies show that seniors who actively engage in new learning activities, such as music, languages, or puzzles, experience slower cognitive aging and better memory recall. But it's not just about what you do alone. Linda also makes time to talk with younger people. Her weekly book club includes people in their 30s and 40s, which keeps her perspectives fresh and her thoughts challenged. She says, I learn more from a single good conversation than from a whole day of TV. And she sleeps well, something many overlook. Deep, restful sleep allows the brain to store memories, clear waste, and stay healthy. That's why she avoids caffeine after lunch, puts away screens by 8 p.m., and keeps her room dark and quiet at night. Linda doesn't chase youth. She simply refuses to let her brain grow old before she does. Keeping a sharp mind isn't about doing something hard, it's about doing something different. Read something unfamiliar. Ask more questions. Learn something new. And remember, a curious mind never grows tired. It only grows wiser. 3. Living independently and taking care of yourself every day. At 78, Carol lives alone in a tidy little house with a small garden and a wooden porch swing she still uses every afternoon. What surprises most people is not that she lives alone, but how confidently she manages everything on her own. She cooks 3 simple meals a day, organizes her medications by the week, drives herself to the store once a week, and even fixes small things around the house with a toolbox her late husband left behind. It's not that I never get tired, she says, but I'd rather struggle a little than lose my rhythm. For Carol, independence isn't just about physical strength, it's about mindset, planning, and keeping routines that support her freedom. She keeps a small notebook on her kitchen counter where she writes down daily tasks and reminders. Her laundry baskets are light and on wheels. Her pantry is labeled and organized so she can reach everything without bending too far. Even her television remote has stickers to make it easier to use at night. None of these things are complicated, but together they form a system that lets her stay in control of her life. Many seniors slowly give up daily tasks, thinking it's safer or easier to let others do them. But studies show that staying involved in small, regular activities helps maintain cognitive function, balance, and emotional well-being. It also protects dignity, the quiet confidence that comes from not needing help for every little thing. Carol says the secret is to keep things simple, predictable, and easy to manage. She prepares her clothes the night before, sets out her pills after dinner, and makes sure to move her body every morning, even if it's just walking around the living room while listening to the radio. When you take care of yourself, she says, you remind yourself that you still matter. Living independently doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means doing everything you can while asking for help only when needed. It's not about being proud. It's about protecting your sense of self. And that sense of self is often what keeps people strong long after others begin to fade. 4. Moving freely without the need for support. Every morning at 6:30, James laces up his sneakers and takes a brisk walk around his neighborhood. He's 74, and while most of his peers use canes or avoid stairs, James climbs the hill near his house every day without stopping. He still bends to tie his shoes, reaches the top shelf without pain, and gets in and out of the car without effort. It's not because he's naturally athletic. In fact, James used to sit most of the day after retiring at 65. But after a minor fall in his kitchen, he decided he never wanted to feel that helpless again. So he made a rule: never go a full day without intentional movement. He started small, just 10 minutes of walking, then added light stretching, then some simple bodyweight exercises like squats using a chair for support. Over the years, it became part of his lifestyle. Today, he spends about 30 minutes each morning, keeping his joints loose and his balance sharp. What most people don't realize is that losing mobility doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow fade caused by sitting too long, moving too little, and ignoring stiffness until it becomes permanent. But the body responds quickly to care. Just a bit of consistent, low-impact movement, like walking, stretching, or light resistance work, can keep muscles strong and joints flexible well into the 70s and 80s. James also pays attention to how he sits. He avoids slouching on the couch for hours and takes standing breaks during the day. He stands tall when walking, engages his core, and practices posture exercises a few minutes each evening. This not only keeps his body younger, it keeps his confidence intact. Being able to move freely isn't just about staying active. It's about staying independent, avoiding falls, and continuing to do the things you love, like gardening, dancing, or simply walking through the grocery store without fear. James always says, the moment you stop using your body, it starts giving up on you. He doesn't plan to run marathons. He just wants to keep climbing that hill. And every day he does, he proves to himself and others that movement is not just medicine, it's freedom. 5. Living without joint pain or dependence on medication. At 75, Barbara kneels in her garden every afternoon, tending to her tomatoes and pulling weeds with ease. Just a few years ago, this would have been impossible. She used to wake up with aching knees, stiff fingers, and pain in her hips that made getting dressed feel like a chore. Her medicine cabinet was full of pain relievers, and walking for more than 10 minutes left her exhausted. But one morning, after forgetting to take her usual pain pill, she noticed something surprising. She didn't feel any worse. That moment made her wonder, what if she could reduce her pain without relying on pills at all? Barbara began changing her habits one step at a time. She started walking slowly every day, even when it felt uncomfortable at first. She added gentle stretching to her mornings and began following a beginner's yoga video twice a week. As her joints loosened, the pain began to fade. She also made changes to her diet. Out went processed snacks and sugary drinks. In came salmon, leafy greens, berries, olive oil, and walnuts, foods rich in natural anti-inflammatory nutrients. She increased her water intake, aiming for 8 cups a day, and noticed her body felt more limber just from staying hydrated. Her joints, she learned, were like sponges. They needed water to stay cushioned and flexible. Within months, Barbara was using pain medication only occasionally. Today, she hasn't refilled a prescription in over a year. Studies have shown that joint pain often comes not just from age, but from inflammation, poor circulation, and lack of movement. Barbara took all 3 seriously. She uses heat pads when needed, keeps her body in motion, and even started dancing once a week at the community center. Now, instead of fearing pain, she focuses on prevention. Living without joint pain isn't about denying aging. It's about working with your body instead of against it. Barbara's garden isn't just a hobby. It's a symbol of everything she's reclaimed, her strength, her energy, and the joy of moving freely again. For her, every step without pain is a step toward the life she thought she'd already lost. 6. Living without back pain and maintaining good posture. At 72, Carol stands tall when she walks through the park with her grandson. Just a year ago, she could barely get out of her favorite armchair without wincing. Her lower back throbbed in the mornings, and by evening, she often had to lie down just to relieve the pressure. Her doctor told her it was just part of getting older, but Carol wasn't ready to accept that answer. One afternoon, her grandson pointed at a photo and asked, "Grandma, why do you always look like you're bending forward?" The question stayed with her. That same week, she started making small changes, stretching her hamstrings every morning, gently opening up her hips, and standing against the wall each night to check her posture. She began with only 5 minutes a day, but within weeks, she noticed something was different. Her steps felt lighter. Her back didn't ache after sitting. She no longer needed to push off with her hands just to get up. The biggest shift, though, came when she started strengthening her core. With simple exercises like bridges, leg lifts, and side planks, she built the muscles that support the spine. Carol didn't need a gym or special equipment, just consistency. She also paid closer attention to how long she sat and made sure to stand up and walk every 30 minutes, even if it was just around the room. She swapped her old soft couch for a firm chair with proper support and used a small pillow behind her lower back when reading or watching TV. At night, she placed a cushion between her knees when sleeping on her side to keep her spine aligned. Over time, the pain faded and her posture straightened. Now, people often tell her she moves with grace, and she smiles because she knows it didn't come by accident. Back pain may be common, but it doesn't have to be permanent. With gentle movement, core strength, and better habits, Carol proved that even the spine can age well when treated with care. These days, she walks not just without pain, but with pride. Her grandson doesn't ask about her posture anymore. He just asks if he can keep up. 7. Maintaining quick reflexes and good coordination. At 76, Frank still moves like someone 20 years younger. One afternoon, his wife accidentally knocked a glass off the counter. Without thinking, Frank reached out and caught it midair. She laughed and said, "You're still my hero." But Frank knew it wasn't luck, it was habit. Most people assume that slowing down is just part of aging, that shaky hands and clumsy feet are unavoidable. But Frank never accepted that idea. Years ago, after nearly tripping over a curb, he made a decision to train his body to stay quick and responsive. Every morning, he spends just 15 minutes doing simple coordination drills. He bounces a tennis ball against the wall and catches it. He taps his toes quickly in place while listening to music. He practices stepping in different directions to improve balance. These small movements keep his nervous system sharp, allowing him to react faster and move more confidently. He also makes eye tracking a daily routine, following a moving object side to side with just his eyes to improve visual coordination. Frank knows that quick reflexes aren't just about avoiding spills. They're about staying safe in real situations, like stepping off a bus or reacting to unexpected changes in terrain. Studies show that seniors who work on balance and reaction time have a much lower risk of falls, injuries, and even hospitalization. Frank also pays close attention to what he eats and drinks. He avoids too much sugar or alcohol, both of which slow nerve response, and instead focuses on brain-boosting foods like leafy greens, fish rich in omega-3s, and berries. He drinks plenty of water throughout the day to stay hydrated, since even mild dehydration can make movement sluggish. And perhaps most importantly, Frank gets consistent, restful sleep. He knows that during deep sleep, the brain processes movement patterns and strengthens neuromuscular connections. Skipping sleep, he says, is like skipping practice. Now, whether it's catching a falling object, stepping around a puddle, or reacting to something unexpected, Frank feels ready, not lucky. Quick reflexes at his age are not just a skill, they're a statement, a reminder that age may slow the calendar, but it doesn't have to slow you down. Growing older doesn't mean giving up the things that make life feel rich, purposeful, and full of movement. As you've seen, there's a small group of seniors, just 5%, who still walk without help, think clearly, live pain-free, and stay independent well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. But they're not special in ways you can't be. They didn't get lucky. They built habits, one day at a time, that kept their minds sharp, their bodies strong, and their spirits alive. Whether it was waking up with purpose, stretching for 5 minutes a day, learning something new, or simply choosing to move instead of sit, each choice helped protect their freedom. These aren't dramatic changes. They're small, quiet acts of self-care that add up to something powerful over time. You don't need fancy equipment, expensive supplements, or a perfect path to start. You just need the willingness to begin, right now, right where you are. Maybe that means standing a little taller today, calling someone you miss, or walking to the mailbox instead of waiting. The best part? It's never too late. Your body and mind are more adaptable than you think, and the future you imagine, one with less pain, more energy, and greater joy, is still within reach. The next chapter of your life doesn't have to be about decline. It can be about strength. It can be about rediscovery. And most of all, it can be about taking back what matters most, one step at a time.